life was a song, you came along.
These first words that Gene Kelly sings during the song You Were Meant For Me in the 1952 musical comedy film Singin' in the Rain signal a moment of transition and self-awareness for his character, Don Lockwood. This parallels the film's intent to explore ideas of authenticity and deceit in personal relationships, and the world of Hollywood filmmaking from the silent era to the birth of talkies. The film follows the traditional narrative structures of the musical romance subgenre, such as the boy meets girl arc and three-act structure, with stylistic elements like energetic choreographed dance numbers, farcical comedy beats, and a grand finale. However, one overarching theme that permeates the film is that of authenticity. By deconstructing and satirizing the artificiality of silent era Hollywood's conventions, Singin' in the Rain follows a trajectory from the inauthentic to the genuine, with silent film actors Don Lockwood and Lena Lamont being forced to adapt to the new film form of talkies. Concurrently, Don and dancer Kathy Selden establish a romantic bond as the pair truthfully learn to express their love for each other. This character development occurs in the context of a film about Hollywood that satirizes the follies of the silent era while being unaware that similar foibles exist within 1950s Hollywood filmmaking and indeed the production of Singin' in the Rain itself. One example that Raymond Knapp argues is equally explicit about the importance of illusion and the turning point from inauthenticity to truth occurs 38 minutes into the film with the You Were Meant For Me musical number, and its preceding scenes between Don and Kathy, where their relationship transforms from combative to open and loving. The sequence brings together the elements of film form to draw parallels between the introduction of talkies and Lockwood's blossoming romance with Kathy, as he, like the fictional film production company Monumental Pictures, must adapt and change by being more truthful, authentic, and open to succeed in this new era of Hollywood. The sequence begins as head of Monumental Pictures R.F. Simpson watches the recording of the Beautiful Girl montage and takes a particular liking to background dancer Kathy Selden. Unbeknownst to Simpson, Selden has recently had a feud with lead actor Don Lockwood and insulted the lead actress Lena Lamont, but Lockwood, who has taken an interest in her, convinces Simpson to give Kathy the lead role in his next picture. After meeting with Simpson, Lockwood and Selden begin to open up to each other on the studio backlot. We discover that the pair haven't been truly honest with each other, with Lockwood revealing the inauthenticity of his relationship with co-star Lena Lamont, and in turn, Selden revealing that she has been dishonest in saying she has no romantic interest in Lockwood, as she has bought his fan magazines and watched many of his films. Lockwood takes Kathy to an empty soundstage, and after transforming the dilapidated location into a sweeping romantic sunset locale, he sings the song You Were Meant For Me, letting go of his egotistical fixation on his own status and professing his love for Kathy, which she reciprocates. In relation to camera techniques, the scene has three distinctive modes. The first shot with Simpson and his associates is at a fixed medium full shot that zooms into a regular medium shot once Kathy enters the scene. The camera reverts back to this medium full shot as Lockwood and Cosmo Brown enter, with a tracking pan to follow their entrance. The next scene starts with a medium full dolly shot to track Lockwood and Selden as they walk through the backlot. The camera zooms in gradually as they pause outside the soundstage and haltingly attempt to reveal their feelings for one another. As soon as the pair enter the soundstage, an extreme wide shot is used, and as the song progresses, the camera alternates between fixed close proximity shots and wide sweeping high angle crane movements with pans and tilts that track the choreography. The use of sweeping wide shots is characteristic of the musical genre, with its focus on physical spectacle rather than human emotion. The final shot of the song sees the camera craning out to an extreme wide shot that emphasizes the sunset backdrop and stage machinery to display how this romantic moment has been constructed, similar to the Hollywood production process. The sweeping camera movements during the song directly complement the pace of the editing. In the preceding scenes, the editing is minimal, with cuts following the dialogue and the entrances and exits of the actors. A fade is also used between the studio scene and the outdoor scene, which is a technique used throughout the film to signal scene transitions. A long take with no cuts is also used during the outdoor dolly shot. This 2-minute long shot is used to reinforce the gradual realization of the pair's feelings towards each other. However, during the musical number, the pace of the editing becomes much more rhythmical, with the film cutting in time with the music and sound effects, characteristic of the musical film style. Lighting in the opening shot is fixed and harsh. The directional light coming from the off-screen stage highlights the characters in the foreground and darkens the background, establishing the focal point of the image as well as a shallow depth of field. In the second scene, natural light is evident. Given the outdoor setting in conjunction with the white wall behind the actors, there are sharp shadows and directional illumination on the right side of the actors' faces. By introducing this natural atmosphere with harsh light, a symbol of illumination and revelation, the true feelings of Lockwood and Selden are foreshadowed. In the next scene, the gradual transition from a darkly lit soundstage to a rose-hued sunset reinforces the artificiality of the setting, with Lockwood turning on bright stage lights as well as a purple backlight to accentuate Kathy's beauty. Regarding sound, the sequence begins with a pronounced silence after the bombastic finish of Beautiful Girl, broken by R.F. Simpson's line,
"That's stupendous."
The scene continues with strictly diegetic sounds, including the dialogue between the actors and foley of footsteps and other sounds. When the scene fades to the outdoor setting, a non-diegetic stringed underscore composed by Nacho Herb Brown plays to accentuate the playfulness of the romantic dialogue. This underscore continues as Lockwood and Selden enter the soundstage, and crescendos in conjunction with Lockwood's movements around the stage and the diegetic sound effects of him turning on the stage machinery and lights. The song You Were Meant For Me is a mix of diegetic and non-diegetic sound. While Lockwood's singing is diegetic, the orchestration of the song is non-diegetic, and there is no apparent source in the scene. The full orchestral scoring and Arthur Freed's heartfelt lyrics signal a new depth of emotion as Lockwood learns to look past his own facade and reveal his inner emotions to Kathy. There is also a gradual transition in the acting portrayals of Lockwood and Selden by Gene Kelly and Debbie Reynolds throughout the sequence. Selden is at first very defensive, as displayed through her confident stance, loud vocal intonation, and strident head movement. In contrast, Lockwood is very casual throughout the opening scene, with a relaxed stance, fluid gestures, and playful facial expressions and intonation. As the sequence progresses, the pair naturally move from the left of the space to the right, stopping only to question one another as they catch each other out in their deceptions. The increasing fluidity of the pair's movement carries into the musical number through the waltz choreography. The acting of Kelly and Reynolds in this scene and the whole film follow the narrative convention of reluctant love interest, a key feature of the musical film style and the subgenre of romantic musical. Finally, the mise-en-scene element of setting moves from a dark film set to an open space outside, and finally to an expansive yet artificial soundstage location that emphasizes the blossoming romance between Don and Kathy. The staging of each scene transitions from confined and restrictive to wide open and free throughout the entire sequence. Once the pair enter the empty soundstage, Lockwood needs props like artificial fog, a curated backdrop and wind machine to be fully comfortable with his genuine emotions. Lockwood's tennis whites and Kathy's flowing purple dress are costumes that emphasize the artificiality of the world in which they live and work, which is a contrast to the genuine feelings they reveal for each other. Makeup is used on Debbie Reynolds specifically to emphasize her beauty, which is complemented by the theatrical lighting and dreamy orchestration. The only way that Lockwood and Selden can properly open up to each other is through the guise of inauthenticity, which may be a comment on the musical genre as a whole. While this sequence, and indeed the entirety of Singin' in the Rain, exposes the procedures of filmmaking during the silent era, the film itself isn't self-aware enough to recognize its own production elements that are hidden or come off as inauthentic. The narrative of the film centers around the difficulties silent film stars faced when transitioning to talkies, namely Lena Lamont's high-pitched voice. The solution for R.F. Simpson is to dub Lamont's voice with that of Selden. Ironically, during the production of Singin' in the Rain, Debbie Reynolds' voice wasn't considered strong enough by the producers, and she was in fact dubbed by Betty Noyes for the song Would You? This is a key example of how the inauthentic practices that the film mocked still remained a feature of Hollywood filmmaking in the 1950s, an amusing and bizarre case of life imitating art. Throughout the You Were Meant For Me sequence in Singin' in the Rain, directors Gene Kelly and Stanley Donen seek to mock and expose the inauthenticity of the Hollywood filmmaking process at the death of the silent era. The character and narrative development of Don Lockwood and Kathy Selden from antagonists to romantic partners, while narratively satisfying, is compromised by the artificiality of the setting that surrounds them. The only way that Lockwood can express his true feelings is through a highly stylized spectacle. And while the film mocks this idea, the background to the film's production highlights similar inauthentic elements that suggest that the nature of the Hollywood musical had barely changed at all.